Hi, welcome to Rein It In. This is Matt.
And I'm Rachel.
And I can't believe this is episode 12 already.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe we're in our last week.
Oh, I know. Well, we haven't had 12 episodes in Japan, right?
Right, yeah.
But maybe 6 episodes? 7? I don't know. We'd have to look back.
Yeah, a number. Definitely
yeah,
a
it's
number.
Definitely a number. So, anyways, we're sitting here in a hotel room in Hakodate, Japan, which is up in Hokkaido, the very south side. Yesterday we spent the evening in Noboribetsu, which is an onsen town. We spent another night at a ryokan. We're going to talk about that one next time. We wanted to catch up on our sort of food and drink adventures in Sapporo before we get ahead of ourselves.
Sapporo has some great food.
Yep.
We rolled into Sapporo sometime in the afternoon. We flew in and then we took a train from the airport, got to our place. I think we talked about it a little bit already, the process of sort of airplaning and why that was not great.
Yep.
But then we were hungry, so it was time to explore the city. So Sapporo is famous for Sapporo beer. Probably, one of the big 3 beers of Japan, right? Asahi, Kirin, and Sapporo.
Yeah.
So Sapporo has a beer museum and it has a sort of beer garden. So we were like, all right, we're going to head out there, check it out, and taste some beers. And then they also have this like sort of ridiculous like Mongolian barbecue thing.
Yeah, they call it Genghis Khan, I think.
Yeah. Why do they call it that? Is there a reason?
Because it's Genghis Khan. I don't know, maybe because Mongolian.
Right.
Barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but now I kind of knew and we've done a couple things that have been, tourist trappy, right? But there's some good stuff out there. I mentioned Simon and Martina last time. They had a pretty good one about tourist traps, and like, don't worry about tourist traps. If it's something on your bucket list, do it. And so it seemed like we were going to be in Sapporo, so we should check out the Sapporo Beer Museum. We checked out a few other beer museums, and we just wanted to, get our commemorative stamp.
Basically.
We haven't talked about commemorative stamps. We'll talk about that later.
So we went out there. It was kind of a pain to get to. We had to walk to a train, take a train, and then go on a relatively long walk to the place.
Yeah, it didn't help that I took us on the wrong route. So we missed the train station we were trying to go to. So it took us... We could have easily walked to it in the amount of time it took us to bumble around.
Right. And it was like a, 45-minute walk away. So
yeah. But we still probably walked for 38 minutes.
Yeah, we did, for sure. Anyway, so it took us a long time to get out there. And by the time we got there, the tasting room was closed, or was just closing. So we were like, wow, I guess we can't do the beer museum. Not that, I'm going to look at some old cans, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Mostly I wanted to try to taste other beers that they don't, sell
other places,
right? I was hoping they would have a bigger variety at the brewery. So the tasting room was closed, so we decided that we would not have wasted our trip out there, and we would do the Genghis Khan. Yeah,
we'd still do some food. We were hungry. We knew we were, it just seemed to make sense.
Right.
The interesting thing was we went into one part of the building, and then if you didn't have a reservation, you stood in one line, but there was nobody in the line, so we just basically walked up. And then they basically gave us an on-the-spot reservation.
For the smoking area.
Right, because all they had was, we either had an hour wait for non-smoking, or we could go right in for smoking. So we were like, heck, let's do that.
And it ultimately doesn't matter, because the entire place is so filled with vaporized lamb fat that you can't smell anything else.
Yeah.
It's full of smoke, but it is not full of cigarette smoke.
No. And they come around with plastic bags to put over your purses and coats and stuff like that, and your backpacks.
So the fat doesn't
and it was
overwhelm you.
It was pretty good. It was enjoyable. It wasn't great. It would have been more fun had we had a couple beers at the Sapporo tasting and kind of rounded out the experience. But as it was a long day. Mm-hmm. We wanted some food. We wanted something reasonably easy. Be able to check that bucket list off, I guess. Actually, mostly I just didn't want to be pissed that we spent an hour
getting out there
and then having to spend an hour back to then have to find dinner. So it was like kind of an FU to eating that food.
I will say, though, what we did discover was that Google has been very good for us. Google Maps has been very good for us for transit directions, but there are some bus lines that don't show up on there. And there was like a shuttle bus that went out to the beer museum that took us back to a station that was really close to our house, and then we didn't have to transfer or walk at all. So that made getting home much easier.
And it was a city bus because it took the IC card and everything, the public transit card. So who knows why it wasn't there, but hell, if we would have known that was there, it would have been way easier because it dropped us off at the freaking front door.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of a walk back, but and actually the walk back ended up being the gateway into a whole bunch of fun that we had in Sapporo.
Oh yeah, that's true. So our place happened to be by this like big covered shopping arcade, and by big I mean
like eight blocks
long. Yeah. And so there's shops on either side and restaurants and some hotels.
Mm-hmm. A gajillion tourists.
Yeah.
Including us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's all, I think there's a lot of stuff in Sapporo. You can tell that it's much colder here in the winter because there's so much more stuff that's underground and so much more stuff that's covered than anywhere else that we've been up to this point. And
Except for maybe Aomori. Although they didn't have anything underground.
Yeah.
Just covered stuff.
Sapporo has like entire malls.
Yeah.
Underground. And stations and galleries in between stations.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to sneeze. Nope. Anyway. So we tooled along throughout this covered gallery and decided we wanted to find a bar. And so Matt found one with a picture of a cat.
Yeah, well, I just did a little research or whatever. Google, spend too much time with decision constipation, as my manager likes to say, that we both suffer from. But so, looking at too much data, trying to figure things out, and saw some stuff that was kind of on the way back to our Airbnb, and it had good reviews. It was a wine bar. Rachel was looking for some wine. We'd been drinking a lot of sake and beer. And it had really good reviews. So we went in. Mm-hmm. But it turns out it's kind of a yokocho or like an alley, but it was more like a couple buildings that were connected with some internal corridors and stairs and shared bathrooms. And all the little places were little, 4 to 12 seat
bars and restaurants.
Yeah, yeah. So we went into the one, and there was Grumpy Cat, actually, so kind of timely on
Grumpy Cat's
RIP.
passing.
But yeah, it was pretty chill. It was pretty mellow. The proprietor was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was good wine. It was, I had 2 different Italian wines. Mm-hmm. Matt had a French one and an Italian one, I think. We had some pickled fish.
Oh, yeah.
That was not my favorite.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of onions or something too, maybe. And when she turned her back, I ate it, so she didn't see that Rachel had left it.
I ate a bunch of it.
Oh yeah.
And then I said, "Well, I was eating it. This is not my favorite.
Yeah.
But this lady is nice, so I'm going to keep eating it."
Right.
And then Matt was like, "You really shouldn't talk in English. She can probably understand you."
Yeah, I waited until we were outside for that one.
Well, right.
Yeah. But while we were in there,
honestly, that's kind of a compliment.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're nice enough that I'm going to eat this pickled fish that I don't really like.
But while we were in hers, and it was a little quiet and sleepy. It was relaxed. It was nice. Mm-hmm. But while we were in that one, there was a bunch of people laughing really hard from the one across the
hallway.
The narrow hallway. And so Rachel was like, "We should go in there," but I was like, "It's late. Let's call the night. We can come back later."
And we did. And
we did end up going. So in the last episode, we talked about our tour going into Taisetsuzan. No, that's not quite right. But anyways, going into the national park. And we got back from that. We pulled back into town at 8:30 or so.
Yep. It was a full day.
Yeah, we were ready for some dinner. So we had gotten a bunch of recommendations from our...
driver.
Yeah, our tour guide about things to do in Sapporo, mostly around eating and drinking. And one of them was a ramen place that I'd already found, one of 2 that was near our place, and that was his number 1 recommendation.
It was very close to our place. It was like 2 blocks away.
Yeah. And Ramen Shinjen is what it was. It was a pretty famous one. It seems like it had a ton of reviews. It said, like, you're going to have to wait in line, and we did wait in line.
It went pretty quickly. They had
Yeah.
massive bowls of soup. We both got half orders.
Yeah. And some gyoza.
And I was completely full with the half order.
Yeah. The interesting thing was, like, the reviews were saying, like, this was the best ramen I've ever had. It was better than the, like, 2-star Michelin or 2 Michelin star ramen place I got in Tokyo that I waited in line for, like, 4 hours for. And we waited in line a good 20 minutes maybe. But it moved pretty quick. And a lot of these places, I'm impressed with how efficient their systems are.
Yeah.
It's like Taqueria del Sol in Atlanta to some extent, but at a much smaller scale.
And if there were chairs, what I really like about waiting in restaurant lines in Japan is that there are chairs.
Yeah, often, right?
Benches.
Like for the last, and they're kind of like a line of benches. So, there might be 30 people waiting in line, but the last 10 or so are seated. So, like, just kind of shuffle along. And they clear, if you have a group of like 4, they might break you up. 2s and 3s, they seem to keep together, and you'll see a couple seats stay open for a little while until things clear, and then you kind of like plug in to those slots.
We should say that, we're waiting not for tables, but for like counter space.
Oh yeah, just the seat at the counter, because there's no tables.
Yeah.
Traditional tables of these things, a lot of them. But I thought the ramen was pretty good. I really wanted to get miso ramen, because that's the Hokkaido ramen is miso ramen. Did you want to talk about the different ramens? That was one of the things you talked about. Just your ramen experiences so far.
Different ones that we've had so far, yeah. Brief ramen wrap up.
Sure. We're going to eat at least one more ramen.
Right, ramen wrap up number 1. So we talked about which our favorite ones were of the ones that we've had so far. I think the most unique one we had was the yuzu salt one, which was in Ebisu.
That was in Ebisu, yeah.
And that I really enjoyed. I don't know if it was the best one, though.
No.
But it
was good. It was most unique.
It was the most unique.
It was fresh somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was probably the one we had the first night that we were here. And that
in
might
Shinjuku.
have just sort of been like...
The experience.
Yeah, magical first night. But it was nice. Also, it had like 3 different kinds of meat. It had like nice sort of freshness to it.
Yeah, and the broth was like the essence of chicken.
It was.
And I don't really even like chicken that much, but like mine was, I got the skein and it was like chicken gravy. But it was so just flavorful. And that was one of the things you've talked a couple of times about us. The chicken here is just so different.
the chicken here is so different. It's got so much more fat in it than American chickens. It
tastes more chickeny.
It tastes more chickeny, probably because the flavor comes from the fat. But yeah, it just makes you realize how we've bred and genetically engineered our chickens to have basically no fat.
Yeah.
And in fact, like, one of the places where we were eating, the cook was like, okay, here's the pieces of meat that are juicy, which was the dark meat. And then he was like, these ones are going to be drier. You want olive oil on them, basically. And it was actually olive oil.
But they were still totally fatty.
Yeah, I know. It was, it's just a very different, it's good. I'm not a big fat person, so but I do think it adds to the flavor, and especially in something like broth, it's kind of nice.
I'd recommend, if you ever end up being in Sapporo or in Hokkaido, I got spicy miso ramen with added corn and butter, and mine was pretty darn satisfying. Yeah, it was good.
Their eggs were disappointing, though. Their eggs were just like hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah, their eggs were. The eggs were like some of the worst eggs I've ever had in a ramen.
Yeah.
And they weren't bad. They were just lame.
They were. Yeah.
Those are some lame eggs. But everything else was really good. The gyoza were like super thin and crispy and flavorful. It was good. So, but I think this is a good time for us to take a quick break, because after we left ramen, we decided to go back to that little yokocho area. And walk around and see about getting another drink.
And we got some sake.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to that one after this quick break.
As we said, we were in this little tiny alley, sort of warren of bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And all of which were pretty nice. I mean, it was definitely like, it wasn't like a series of dive bars. They all had a particular style to them. Dive bars have a style too, but I mean, they were like, I think because they were off this main sort of shopping arcade, they were a little bit fancier.
Right. Well, what I think is interesting too, right, is because we talked earlier about it's along that sort of like shopping street that was like 8 blocks long or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it started closer to the city center, or like closer to, I don't know where all the stuff is.
Some of the main stations.
Yeah, some of the main stations and the main lines. And then it goes out east-west. And our Airbnb was on a little bit past the west end of that street. Mm-hmm. And so the last block, so as the street goes down, the amount of lights and the amount of people slowly dwindles.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like a tail, mm-hmm. basically. Mm-hmm. And this block was like the last block that had a cover, but it didn't have ceiling lights, right? So it was like darker, it was like mm-hmm. quainter, quieter.
More smaller restaurants, more funkier looking places, definitely.
Yeah.
But still like kind of more upscale. But they weren't expensive. Everywhere was really affordable. So
right. I'd say they were kind of hip.
Hip, yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah. Because they didn't seem schmancy. They were just like...
No, they were hip.
Yeah.
So we went into the sake bar that was across the street from the wine bar. We were across the street. Yeah, across the hallway, sorry. The very small hallway that you could definitely touch both sides, probably without even stretching your arms
I think
out.
just your elbows.
Just your elbows. We walked into the sake bar.
There's a standing sake bar.
Mm-hmm. And a bunch of places, and we never took advantage of it, but a bunch of places in Sapporo have...
Oh, I'm going to forget the name
all
of it
you can
now.
drink in a certain amount of time.
I always remember this word. Anyways, yeah, so it's basically like 1 hour or 2 hours or 90 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's a set price and you can drink as much as you want. Normally it's, watered down stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, but fine, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
And, but we're not, as you can tell from our podcast, we eat and drink a lot, mm-hmm. but we kind of pace it out, right? Yeah. We're not going to a place to just like pound things. We might sit at a place and have one drink, play a game, move on, mm-hmm. might stay for 2 drinks in a very short period of time.
Right.
But yeah, we're not looking to spend 2 hours drinking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this place had one of those deals where you could just get like short pours, and that would have been a great way to try a whole bunch of different sakes.
Yeah. But I wouldn't even say they were that short. They were like healthy glasses. I mean, not they weren't like a wine glass full of sake, right? But I mean, it was like more than a little cup.
Yeah.
You know. So if anybody's familiar with those little sake cups, right? It was probably like 2 or 3 of those. So it was probably like 3 ounces.
Yeah. So you could get a bunch of little 3-ounce-ish, say, pours, or we just ended up going with glasses, and we just asked him for recommendations.
Oh, we did get the glasses. That's what I thought you were saying.
No.
So you could have gotten smaller ones.
Yes.
Oh, I missed that. Okay. Yeah.
So the all-you-could-drink thing was like smaller servings of like basically as many as you wanted to try.
Yeah, that would have been good. Or it was $5 glasses, but the glasses are smaller glasses. They were probably like 3 to 4 ounces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the things that I noticed too, when you order stuff at the bars, sake or the wine, even if you're just getting a glass, they'll come and set the bottle in front of you and just kind of leave it there so you can look at it and check out any of the information that's on there, which is kind of nice. So he gave us some sakes that he recommended. Yeah. We had 2 glasses and we talked to the people in our crappy Japanese and
that's the thing. This is where the magical night sort of started. Right, because we started at the sake or at the ramen, mm-hmm. and we like got our seats and we ordered mostly in Japanese. Like they didn't try to talk to us in English mm-hmm. for the most part. The menu also had an English menu, but we pointed whatever. And so I think we were leaving there pretty relaxed after the long day of the tour, and a nice comfortable dinner. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the sake place and we went in. And we said our, konnichiwa, and came in, and he just started talking to us in Japanese, which people often will. But then we kind of paused, and Rachel was like, "Did you catch that?" And I was like, "Not quite." And then he came back.
It was something about the all you can drink, I think.
Yeah.
And so, and then he came back, and we kind of negotiated in between.
Yeah, like he kind of gave some English, and then I think we responded in Japanese, and we were pretty good. I think we even got an okudasai down. We said which ones we wanted. We had connecting words, and then we were drinking our stuff. And then he asked us in English. He was like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And we were answering some of their questions that were in English in Japanese. So he'd be like, "How many days?" And we'd be like, "Niju ni." We keep saying "sai," and then they look at us, "Sai's years." we're like, "Sorry." And then I'm like, "Nichi," and then, which is kind of like one way to say day. And then they're like, "Oh, futsuka," or whatever. "Niju ni futsuka," or something like it. I forget exactly what it is. So we kind of, like Rachel said, negotiated sort of like a hybrid Japanese English. So where we had words in Japanese, we would say them in Japanese. They would correct us a little bit. Where we didn't have it, we would just use English, and they would mostly ask us things in English. But yeah, we were talking to the bartender, talking to this other woman that was there, and it was just seemed very casual, and I felt like we were having a conversation at least half to 2/3 in Japanese, maybe.
And the sake was good.
And the sake was good, yeah. And because of the thing too, like we just said, we went in with like osusume, okudasai, and which is basically like, "What's your recommendation?" He was like, okay. So he gave us some,
and he asked us first like what we preferred. We both said dry, and then he asked me like fruity, and I said sure. And so anyway, that's kind of an aside. So anyway, it was just that was a really pleasant experience. And I was actually, they had a second store, he said, in the Sapporo station, and I'm sad that we didn't get a chance to sort of go back and check out their other store. But after we left there, we took the osusume from our tour guide to go to this other sake bar that he recommended that was also nearby. It took a little bit of finding. There's so many, one of the things, like this, words.
It's hard to see it unless you see it, or hard to understand unless you see it, because I didn't appreciate it, or I didn't quite understand it, even the first time I came.
The levels of stores. That things go all the way up, like.
Right. In the U.S., like, bottom floor is business, top floor is living.
Right.
And this is bottom floor is business, basement is business. Actually, first floor is 2 to 4 businesses. Bottom floor is some number of businesses, and then up to like 10 floors of businesses. And there might be multiple businesses on a floor. And we're not talking big buildings.
Right.
So you just kind of have to figure out where you're going sometimes.
Right. You can't just sort of like look in windows and make choices based on that, because some of the places that you want to go to, and 2 of them that we went to in Sapporo, actually, we'll talk about the beer bar, but also the sake bar. Sake bar was on the 9th or 10th floor, right?
Was it the sake bar? Maybe. There were no windows in that one. But
there weren't.
Yeah.
So we popped up there. They had iPad ordering too, right?
Yeah,
which was kind of
nice. And so we went in, and again we led with the Japanese, and we were coming in feeling confident over our last one. One of the things we didn't say on the last one too is that when we were at the first place, they asked us like, "How'd you guys learn Japanese?" And I was just like, from an app, and it was like, really, and like it was the first time, like something that Japanese people are notorious about. From what I've gathered, I've seen a little bit of it, is like complimenting you on things. We haven't seen this, but it's like, Westerners using chopsticks. They'll be like, "Oh, your chopstick usage is so good," but so he was like I felt like they expressed genuine appreciation that we were trying at the first place. So I think we were feeling pretty good. We're also feeling pretty good because we were a couple glasses in.
It's okay.
Yeah, and we walk into this other place, which is a little more famous, maybe, it seemed like.
Yeah. And there were 3 people at the bar and 2 bartenders. And so the bartenders invited us to come over and sit there at the bar.
Right, which was great.
And so we did that.
Yeah, and they gave us the iPad. So we didn't order from the iPad, but all the stuff was in the iPad. So we could like click on where it was.
Yeah, that was really
It was
nice.
all Hokkaido? No, it wasn't all Hokkaido.
But you could click on different areas of Japan, and then it would, give you sort of like listings of the sakes that they had from those different areas.
Yeah, and it was on maps, so you can kind of see like where you were getting it from.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a smart way to do it, so you're not just constantly like updating a paper menu. Because they could, pretty easily add and take off different bottles, and also have, obviously pictures and maps and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we got our first glass there. We both went with Hokkaido ones, right? Hokkaido sakes there. And then the people next to us started
chatting us up.
Started chatting, yeah. And so there was something about how it was going to be this guy's birthday soon. I mean, like,
I thought it was
20
that
minutes.
night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it
that's
wasn't
right.
midnight yet. And so we just ended up in this really long conversation with them.
Yeah, and again, it was like a fair amount of Japanese.
Right.
And they were amazingly forgiving at our bad Japanese and our mix of both, and them like asking us things sometimes in Japanese, and then when we were like, then they'd ask it in English. But we were even getting like, a little bit, some like tenses, because we were saying where we were, where we'd been, where we were going.
Right.
Yeah,
we were doing all right. Our Japanese was on point that night,
well,
as much as it can be for our really shitty Japanese college.
Yeah. But it was also the first time, because like everybody that we run across here, not everyone, but anybody we talk to for more than a few minutes, generally asks like, why did you come to Japan? And usually we're just like, I've always wanted to come. Or Rachel does, talks about how she read Kawabata.
Kawabata, yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's great, or something, right? And then you kind of move on. But this guy, Kaz, whose birthday it was, he was like more aggressive about it. He was like, he really wanted to know, because he brought it up again. He was like, no, really, why Japan?
Oh, and then he also asked us why we didn't just move to Japan.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I did say parents in Japanese.
Yeah, and he was like, enough said. I think is what he said in English too, right? So
it was basically like family is too far away. And he was like, I understand.
That was one of my, I would like, I'll get a little long-winded on some stuff sometimes, or wax poetic. But they were asking, and so Rachel had said, she read and had studied in school, and we, just lots of cool stuff. And so I kind of was like, for me, one of the reasons I do like Japan and that I've wanted to come back is that, like, I do appreciate, this was mostly in English that I said to them, but I was like, I feel like a lot of times in America we can be a little too selfish, and I like the collective aspect of Japanese culture, that like people like try not to be irritating on the train, and like they try to pay attention to people, and and like the bartender was like, he
got a little
fluttered
choked
his
up,
his heart with his hands. So like we had obviously won them over during this. So when Kaz's birthday came around, we were included in the umeshu plum wine shots or whatever that everybody got, and we were there till pretty darn late.
We were, yeah, because it was probably 1 or so when we rolled out.
My favorite part was like so the Kaz was, he said he was 58, I think. 2 bartenders were 30s. Well, the kid was probably 20s, the one, and then one was probably 30s, and then 2 women that were a little bit younger than us, probably, right? We couldn't figure out what the relationship was. Like maybe family, maybe coworkers. It didn't seem like an untoward relationship. They seemed very familiar.
Yeah.
But when we left, like all 5 of them walked us to the elevator. And thanking us and stuff. It's so strange. It was so much fun.
It was really a very fun night.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, though, the following day...
Yeah, the next morning we were a little slow. Yeah.
We started slow. But that was all right, because we didn't have any big plans for that day. It was mostly just to kind of bumble around. And one of the main things that we wanted to do after talking to our guide was that we wanted to go to get soup curry.
Yeah.
And soup curry is so magical.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about cocoa curry.
Best fucking thing.
Yeah, so it's Japanese curry, but the soup curry was thinner. It was a little more like soup. Mm-hmm. Definitely, it was a thick soup. Mm-hmm. But this is something we haven't talked about too much. Is there's a lot of fresh food that we get here. You have plenty of fried foods and things too, and pickled foods, but a lot of the food is very fresh. But that doesn't mean you're getting any vegetables.
Yeah.
The vegetable ratio is really low.
It is, yeah. I mean, I've been trying to, like, every buffet, breakfast, I have salad.
Right, so the
pickles, but, like, there's not a lot of vegetable.
But the soup curry was basically like a bowl of mountain vegetables or like...
Well, especially yours, because you got the vegetable version.
Yeah, I got the vegetable one, which was 20 kinds of vegetables. Yeah.
Mine had 13 and some chicken. But it was
so good.
Delicious.
Yeah.
So the vegetables were great. My chicken was great. Again, higher fat content than U.S. chicken. And I got mine with coconut milk, which I think was definitely the right choice.
I think yours was one up a little bit. The bummer thing is tonight we were kind of figuring out where we were going to eat dinner here in Hakodate, and we were like, let's see if there's a soup curry thing. I don't know if soup curry is a Hokkaido thing or a Sapporo thing. It was like closest soup curry was 90 miles away.
Yeah, it's not a Hakodate thing, that's for sure.
No, I know. So we should have gotten it a second time.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was so good. It had like rice on the side, and oh man, and it was just delicious. So
yeah, if you're ever in Sapporo, make time for soup curry. There's a bunch of different places that do it. We went to Samurai, which I think is one of the bigger sort of like local chains for it.
It was amazing.
And then we bumbled around town a little bit. We stopped at a beer bar Rachel mentioned earlier. That was on the 10th floor. It had a beautiful view. It was a local brewery, North Island Brewery. We walked through a couple parks and just kind of wandered the city. There was a lilac festival, and what was the other festival for?
I have no idea.
But it was like two different parts of the city that were like only 10 blocks apart, and there was two different big, the big Odori, not Odori, is it Odori? The big park in Sapporo, and there was like a smaller park over by one of the markets, and two different festivals. And it was a Thursday afternoon, which was weird. It wasn't. There was a lot of people out at it. Mm-hmm.
And we went to a jazz bar. We had a really good. Well, I had a really good Negroni there.
Yeah,
it was delicious.
Jazz bar was pretty fun. We've been dropping some Free Art Friday, Atlanta, Japan stuff around, leaving some Instagram pictures of that, and then we wrapped up our food in Sapporo. We should wrap up this episode here too because we're getting a little long in the tooth.
Oh, jeez, we are.
But we went back to another conveyor belt sushi just because we thought, okay, Hokkaido, we want to get some sushi up here. And actually, our guide recommended a different conveyor belt sushi, which had okay reviews, but it was a little bit bigger. And we were kind of near another one that had good reviews and seemed a little smaller. So we were like, let's try this one.
Although there was a conveyor belt in there, but there was never any sushi on the actual conveyor belt. There
was one plate with, remember that little really sad, whatever the heck that was?
Sad sushi.
It was mostly just like signs for the food.
Yeah. So it had been a conveyor belt sushi place at one point, but now it was just like you handed little slips of paper with your order on it to the cook or to the guy behind the counter, and he announced things over like a microphone, and then they brought
the
sushi.
elves brought it out. Yeah. And they were making some of it behind the counter, and other stuff came, and it was good. It was better than the one that we had in Shinjuku. Mm-hmm. It was probably twice the cost.
It was almost exactly twice the cost.
But
we also had 2 drinks.
We had 2 drinks, and we ate more sushi, so it was probably just a little bit more expensive. Mm-hmm. But the quality was higher, I think.
Oh, yeah.
If not the quality, the selection. Because I got...
There's a huge selection, yeah.
Scallops and uni and some other random weirdo-ass crap. I got some with natto and salmon.
We had a really good tuna roll that had pickled plum and shiso leaf.
Yeah.
Which is
that
also
was interesting.
Perilla.
Right. Or related to, yeah.
So that was kind of fun. Anyway, we are definitely rambling. I apologize because I'm very tired. I think that's why I've got a little bit of a ramble on.
Ramble on!
I will say, like, Sapporo, I think, is super fun.
Yeah.
People are super friendly.
Yeah.
And it's a great town for eating and drinking.
Yeah, I'd say if you're ever out here, this goes for Tokyo too, because we had some of this there a little bit. Like, look for the little places. They're hard to... Tokyo's harder, I think, because there's just so many people there, and they're not looking for tourists in a lot of places. And we heard this actually from our guide. We heard this from other people that we've talked to here, that, like, it isn't just about, like, they don't want foreign travelers or tourists. Like, they don't even want people from Japan who aren't from their locals. Like, they've got 8 chairs and they want the 8 regulars. So, like, you got to find the right places, but like, there was so much fun just trying these weird little places here, and like sitting at the bar. We aren't always good about sitting at the bar. Rick Steves always talks about that. Sit at the bar, and nurse that drink for a while, chat with people. But yeah, I think it's been pretty fun. I think definitely the most exciting fun night we've had so far out of the town was there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, but it was a little sad to see Sapporo head behind us, but we've got more fun journeys. We're kind of coming up on the end.
Yeah, we are. We're getting to the last 5 nights. So we will be here in Hakodate one more night. We're going to give you another episode about Hokkaido, where we talk about Noboribetsu.
Yep.
And Hakodate.
And we'll see if maybe we can record that from the Shinkansen on the way down.
And then, we're going to do the fastest train. I don't know if it's the fastest train.
I don't know if it's the fastest
It's going to be the fastest train I've been on, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So
yeah. It looks like a freaking jet plane on a rail. You see the nose of that thing?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Anyways, look it up. It's
Just
been
Google
like,
that shit.
I know. It's been like 4 days you've been listening to this episode, so we'll cut you loose if you've made it this long.
Good job. Congratulations. Go to Sapporo and eat some soup curry.
Yeah, and look for the stuff at the end. Actually, send us an email if you're going to be there. We'll let you know exactly which places we went to.
Yeah.
So, happy to make recommendations.
Yep.
We'll get you in touch with Ichi. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You can check us out at anchor.fm/rainitin. That's spelled REINITIN, all one word, no spaces, and you can leave us a message there. You can also follow us at Instagram at rainitin_podcast or email us at rainitin@ssdpress.org, also spelled REINITIN at ssdpress.org. Thanks again to all of our friends and family for all the support and for putting up with us. Have a great day.